Hello and good morning. Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about my happy place, my garden, and I'll show you some details about how it works. So with my lifestyle, where I'm gone sometimes 2-3 months at a time, and I'm really passionate about gardening, I need a garden that is really low maintenance, something that I don't have to spend a lot of time in. So the way this garden works is in the spring, I basically plant my starts. You know, I may start my starts from seeds or whatever, but I put starts in the ground. And then with this ground cover that I have here, which allows rainwater and stuff to soak through into the ground, but it essentially is a weed block. And once you put the plants in the ground, in these little like spots that I've tore apart in this ground cover, you know, like this was a small little pepper. And as it grows, you know, it grows into a plant where I can get lots of peppers. And so, yeah, I have peppers and fennel and all kinds of cabbages. And really what's taking off right now, tons. I'm really proud of my eggplant, or aubergine, they call them. Yeah, it's going crazy. And then I've got some of these Chinese aubergine, Chinese eggplants, which are really good pickled. Look at that, it's just going crazy. So, the cool thing about this garden is that it works really well. Again, I spend hardly any time in here except for just plucking things out the plants and eating them, which I appreciate. But I've never had to fertilize this. I've had this garden going for about 6 years. I've never had to till the land. I've never had to put fertilizers on it. And it still is growing lush. And I'm going to show you one of the secrets as far as, again, why this garden works. And we'll go up here, which is up there, up on that hill. And I got to close the gate, keep the deer out, and the ground squirrels, and the meadow voles, and the field mice, everything else that wants a little piece of that garden. But up here, on this property, I have kind of a lot of different biomes or ecosystems, I guess you could say. Some places are really swampy. I have a creek with a riparian zone. And then up here, this is this super, super dry hillside. And you can see the ground, it is bone dry, but I've been planting a lot of plants here that are all desert adapted, just because I love plants and I love to see what I can grow up here. So here's a native buckwheat that surprisingly grows really well up here, that I don't even water it. I've got prickly pear, a lot of different native cactuses that I found on my journeys around local, and I just plant them and see if it works. But I'll go into the specifics for another video later on in life. But on the way up to this up here, here's my big leaf sage. I just have to show this off because it's beautiful, and the hummingbirds go crazy over it. And then these trees, the ponderosa pine, which is a native, does really well in the dry environments that we have here in Spokane. But again, that's not why we're here. We're talking about how I fertilize, or at least make that garden as good as it is right now. So here's what's going on. And this all happened as this wonderful sort of, okay, here's what's going on. There's a big road there. So the road comes up like this. On the other side of this road is a swamp. The swamp is fed by a spring, a natural spring. All the excess water that comes out of that spring comes through a culvert through this road. I didn't put the culvert there, it was just there. But I constantly have this consistent flow of water that comes from the other side of the road through a swamp and dumps into my little water tank here. And I have this water tank covered because inside I have these koi goldfish, which I really love. They're just loving it. And they're growing naturally. I can supplement their food a little bit with some fish food. Hopefully they'll come up there once they smell the food. Well, they might not be really hungry right now because they get most of their food. I gotta bring this down here. The water to come through. But they're coming up. But these koi are getting most of their food from whatever invertebrates or food that's coming out of the swamp and just happens to be flowing through this culvert and into here. So every little snail, every little baby dragonfly, every little bug gets chowed down by these koi. And the thing about koi is they're omnivorous, so they eat meat and they also eat a lot of plant matter. So any excess plant matter that flows overboard, they're eating it, and they're definitely growing. When I first put these koi in there, they were about this big. And these koi have the potential of getting this big. If they do continue to grow, I'm gonna have to have a bigger tank because there's that myth that goldfish will only grow as big as their little tank is. That's not true. They continue to grow, except they get more and more deformed because, yeah, they look horrible. So pretty soon I'm gonna have to have a bigger tank. But a little bit about these koi is I originally put the koi in there because I love fish. I didn't intend for them to actually be benefiting my garden, which is what I'm talking about. But another little thing, I have this grate up here, and that just keeps out the raccoons and the great blue herons from eating my poor koi. But as koi do, and anything else, they eat everything that goes in here, whether I feed them or the swamp feeds them, and they're producing their excrement. They're pooping and peeing, and primarily that is urine and urea, and that turns into ammonia, which is high in nitrates, but then the bacteria that's in here converts that ammonia into nitrates. So this water here is high in nitrates, high in nutrients. And then in here, I have a hose that I can turn on from here. This is the lever. And this hose goes down and feeds my garden. I have a little filter here so I don't clog up my system. The water's looking pretty clear. Usually it's super green. It might look like clear water, but it's actually water that, if it didn't have a way to escape, would be kind of so high in nutrients and nitrates that it would be poisonous for the fish. But with a constant flow of water, and all the excess water goes out here, and then in previous videos you'll see that I have a drip system. So all this water that's full of nitrates and phosphorus and calcium and all the other things that the plants need, it goes through my garden and through my drip system and feeds my plants. So all the poopy water goes down this hose, and if you look over here, there's my garden. Everything's going so good, but you see the fence around the garden, and then there's where all my food is, all summer long and then all winter too, if I can. So it's this whole phenomenon of using fish to be able to fertilize your plants. They call that oftentimes aquaponics. So here in this kind of environment, I use cold weather fish, which are koi. They will be able to live here even though it's well below freezing. As long as the water continues to keep circulating, they won't freeze solid. But if you live in more tropical environments, a lot of people grow tilapia, which are a great fish as long as they stay in captivity. You don't want them becoming invasive species, but tilapia, as far as a fish that you want to eat, probably one of the most environmentally good fish to eat because, for one, they're herbivorous, so they eat all kinds of human waste. So you can feed them your food scraps and then put them in the tank, and then as the fish grow, you always have a source of protein, which are your tilapia. And if you grow it like this, you can have a tilapia that basically fertilizes whatever plants you have in your greenhouse or your field or whatever. But yeah, tilapia is really good, whereas eating other fish in the ocean, they get over harvested. There's not very good practices as far as, for a lot of fish that we're eating from the sea, it's not very sustainable. So as far as a really good fish to eat is tilapia. Another tangent, but anyways, I just wanted to show you how I'm keeping my garden so healthy and having fun at the same time, because I love my little koi. Okay. If you like what you've just seen, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.